Hi, everybody. This is Abby.
And Garrett.
And this is Time to Travel.
Welcome, guys. We're going to talk about our first 2 weeks in Croatia. Dobar dan.
Dobar dan. That's hello in Croatian. We've perfected that in Hvala, which is thank you.
Hvala, and that's about it.
Thank you if you were to ask us about our Croatian. It's not going super well. We do know that the J's are pronounced like Y's or I's. Other than that, don't have a whole lot of language experience.
No,
but that's okay.
It's pretty hard language.
Thankfully, we don't need it. So
yeah,
the first question we're gonna go through a bunch of questions today. Some that we've gotten from different listeners or friends. But the first question is, why Split? Like, why did we choose Croatia, and why specifically Split?
Yeah, I think I'll answer that because I think a lot of that was my idea. I think you're rolling your eyes. But, I mean, I've been to Croatia 5 times before this, and I absolutely love this country. It's probably my favorite country. The weather, the people, the beaches, the food, the history. And I think the biggest thing, too, was Abby recovering from her knee surgery would be like a good place to kind of have a home base for 30 days and do day trips and stuff. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. In March, I tore my ACL when I was teaching skiing. I had surgery a month later, and one of the things I was like really hesitant about was whether or not I would be able to travel this summer. And my physical therapist was pretty open with the idea, so long as I could be pretty diligent about getting into a gym. And so I feel like this was like the first time that we decided, like, okay, we're going to go and spend 30 days in one place. But like a little backstory to that, Garrett and I have always wanted to go places and spend like more time in one specific place and like truly get to know the city and get to know the culture and the people and like make it feel like home. So I think that it was an easy choice to decide to do 30 days. And I think Split like also just really hit home for us. We were considering Paris. We were considering Rome. I know I talked about that a little bit in an earlier podcast. But what we love about Split and what we were like really thinking would be the best part about it is that we could just go on day trips to different islands or like coastal towns throughout Croatia. And then on the days that we weren't really traveling or bopping around the islands or going to a new place, we could just go to the beach and hang out. And it truly has been like the best experience, I would say, so far.
Yeah, it's a great home base. I mean, we can literally just wake up, walk down to the harbor, get a ferry ticket, and go to probably 3 or 4 different, like maybe even 5 different islands within a day. And we can also rent a car and do a bunch of day trips, which we just did actually. So we'll go over that. Just had a good 4 days renting a car, and it was a lot of fun. But we'll get to that a little later. What's our next question we have on the?
Yeah. So can you describe your daily routine in Croatia?
Okay, so the daily routine, pretty much one of the days that we are here, is that we'll both wake up.
The days we're in Split, yeah, not traveling on a day.
Yeah,
trip.
So the days that we are in Split, usually we wake up a little earlier, like, because it's so hot here, so we try to work out in the morning. I try to go on a run, so I have to wake up probably around like 7 or 8 latest, and go on a run because it's so hot.
Be on your run by 8.
Yeah, or I'm just dripping sweat by the end of it, and then Abby tries to go to the gym around 10.
Yeah.
So our mornings are a little free. We, like we said before, we don't really eat a big breakfast at all or go out and spend money on breakfast. So we try to eat at home and save money that way. So we'll make breakfast at home, or maybe get a croissant here and there, but yeah, nothing big. And then let's see, what do we do after that? We
come home and kind of map out the rest of our afternoon, which typically consists of going to like the beach.
Yeah, it's not
going to a grocery store, buying like something that we can have for lunch, and a couple of beers, and then taking that to the beach. And I think that like the beach has just been the best part about like being in Split, to be quite honest. Like the beaches in Split aren't the greatest, but there are a couple good ones that are like really relaxing and super nice. The water is warm. Last I checked, which was like a week ago, so I'm sure it's changed since then, the temperature of the water was like 80 degrees, which is just like crazy.
Yeah, they're just not your typical American beaches. Like they're not the long, sandy, huge coastal line beaches. They're just more small bays or coves with like pebble beaches, which is kind of nice because the sand gets kind of old.
Truly, I like it better than sand.
Yeah, they're mostly around here are pebble beaches, and they're good for the non-swimmers like myself because they're not a lot of big waves or undertow or anything like that. So I did buy a noodle.
Yeah, don't worry, guys. Garrett did buy a noodle.
It's exciting.
He's safe.
It's exciting stuff. But yeah, so then after that, we usually just come home, relax a little bit, shower, maybe take a nap, and then we like to go out, walk around the town a little bit, kind of check out the new areas of Split that we haven't seen before dinner, and then maybe get a drink before dinner, and then go to dinner probably around 9 or 9:30, and then after dinner we try to maybe either come home or we get a beer from a supermarket and we'll go sit on like a park bench and do some people watching.
Yeah, I think some of like my favorite things that we've done so far, like just like here in Split, are like grabbing a beer either before or after dinner and sitting on a park bench. Like there's a little tiny park right by our apartment. And you can just sit there and look over the ferries and look over the harbor. And the Split, the streets of Split really, really come to life at night. And I just love that atmosphere. Like everybody seems to like get a little bit more dressed up and there's kids out and families walking. And it's just like very typical to see like families taking a little stroll on the riverfront or the beachfront, which they call the Riva. And I just really love that atmosphere. The other thing that I think is super awesome is there's a bar called Luxor, and it's like right in the middle of town. But I don't know for many of our listeners if they know this, but downtown Split, or like the city center, was all of it was Diocletian's palace. So he was a Roman emperor, and he wanted to retire here in Split, and so he built this palace essentially, and all of the city center is essentially inside of the palace. So like it's just like phenomenal.
Yeah, it's his retirement home, and it's really well preserved, and it's just absolutely gorgeous. Like out of all the old towns I think I've been to in Europe that we've been to, I mean this is up there. It is so pretty, and like every day we find new little streets and alleyways and bars and restaurants that we didn't even know existed. And so it's really cool.
So in the smack dab in this city center is this bar called Luxor.
Yeah.
And every night they have live music or like some sort of performance. Like last night we were there and there was a musician, and they were setting up for something. And tonight apparently the opera is there. Last time we were in Split, there was a play going on. It's just a really cool atmosphere, and I love how like everything comes to life.
Yeah, and I think that's what draws us to Europe in general a lot is like just the lifestyle of the nighttime is where everybody kind of comes out and kind of like shows off in a way. Like they dress up, their families out there, they like to walk around, get ice cream, eat. Drinking a beer out on a park bench is totally acceptable here. So we love it a lot. So that's pretty much our day in a nutshell. I mean, it's nothing too exciting when we're here, but it's works for us.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, what's the next question?
So what are some of the day trips that you've done?
Ooh, this is great because we just got back from a few. So Ultra Europe was just in town, which is like one of the biggest concerts in the world. It brought in 140,000 people. So we left the weekend for most. We were here for the nights, but we did day trips most of the weekend. So we rented a car. For pretty cheap. It was 4 days. It was like a little over
$200.
$200, and then we went down to the just south of Split is called the Makarska Riviera, and it's just a gorgeous piece of coastline that is just stretches for a little bit, and it's just absolutely beautiful. And we went down there for 2 days straight, and just checked out all the different towns and went to the beaches and stuff.
There were really, really nice beaches. Yeah. Again, they're not sandy beaches, but they're pebbles. And what's cool about the beaches here, or a lot of them anyway, is that they're just tree lined. So not like big trees, but they're actually pine trees. And they just kind of have some provide some natural shade on the beaches. And you can also hear like little crickets. It's actually
what are they? Cicadas.
Cicadas. Yeah, I think they're cicadas.
Yeah, they're pretty loud. It's pretty cool. It's just a really beautiful like coastline. I mean, it's just a lot different than what you would see in the United States. So, and then most of the coastline is lined with like little bars and restaurants that you can get a beer at or food and like it's like right on the beach, so you don't have to travel too far. The only bad thing about, like, we love renting a car wherever we go, but I would say the biggest downside is parking. I mean, parking in Europe is just, in general too, is just a hassle, man. It's just a hassle.
We did get one parking ticket.
Got a parking ticket. Keeping it going.
We kind of knew it was going to happen.
Keeping it going. I think, yeah.
We kind of got some mixed communication because a lot of the things that we'd read said that they didn't give parking tickets on Sunday. But apparently if you park, like, prime parking spot in the downtown of Brela, Croatia, you just might get a parking ticket, which we did. Is what happened to us.
And I think this is I've driven about 18, 19 different countries, and I think I've got a ticket in almost all of them.
But it wasn't that bad. So I couldn't read the ticket at all. So I used Google Translate. Actually has like a photo option, which is like super, super helpful for when you're traveling in foreign countries and can't like read what it says. But you just like hold your camera over the text that you want to read. And then it automatically translates it for you. So I like read it, and it said like, okay, if you pay this ticket within 3 days, you only have to pay half of the price of the ticket, which was actually like really surprising and kind of a smart idea or like incentive to get people to pay their tickets.
Yeah, so we just walked into this post office and
I had to Google how to pay the parking ticket. They said you could go to a bank or you could go to a post office. Within 3 days, and then you pay the parking ticket. So a couple days later, we did find a post office. We were within the 3-day window, which was good. Stood in line for a bit, and then just like filled out a little information on just gave our address and
paid cash, and we were done with it. Usually they track you down through the rental car agency, and they send me a ticket like a year later.
We might get one of those.
We might get one of those too. So if you guys ever do rent a car, just be cautious of like where you park, and try to use Google Translate as much as you can on parking signs and stuff like that.
We've had some bad experiences.
Yeah,
One time our car got towed in Macedonia.
That's
that's a story for another day.
But yeah, so but all in all, like renting a car is in our eyes like the way to go. So we were happy to do it for 4 days. And
the ticket wasn't all that bad anyway. It was 150 kuna, which was like, I don't know, $23 or something like that.
Whatever.
It wasn't huge. It was a $23 mistake, but we'll take it. And then, you know what we actually did is we just used it as our proof of, parking. I don't know, paid parking. Like we just left the ticket on our car.
Well, I just left the ticket on the car because we already got a ticket, so might as well just leave it on there, and just left the car in the same spot for like 4 more hours. It worked. So if you guys ever get a ticket, just leave it on there. But yeah, so after Makarska, Riviera, we went back up north, and we did an overnight actually to this region called Istria. It's like the culinary capital of Croatia. It's like the northwest corner, borders Slovenia, and it's really close to Italy. So there's a big Italian influence there. We went to
Rovinji.
We went to a few different spots. We stayed overnight in Rovinji, which was really, really cool. Little, what do you say, medieval, like...
Citadel, yeah.
It's kind of coastal town. Big Italian influence. I had a lot of fun. We actually went to a Michelin star restaurant there by accident. I don't know. Not by accident, but like by chance, I guess.
Yeah, by chance. Like I'd read about it. And like if anything, it said go there and have a drink. So the way that this restaurant was positioned, it was literally on the rocks leading down to the ocean. And you just like look out at the sunset, and it was absolutely gorgeous. And so Garrett and I said, well, whatever, we'll do it for a drink. So we sat there and had drinks, and then after I started thinking about it a little bit, I was like, I wonder if there's any cancellations. Like maybe there's a chance that we can have dinner here. And we got lucky, and we waited. We had another drink, and it was fine.
So my job is to go talk to everybody that we encounter. So I went and talked to the hostess, and she was very nice, and she said, there's a cancellation, so we'll see if we can get you in, and sure enough, we got in, and it was really cool to have like a culinary experience in the culinary capital of Croatia.
Yeah, it was delicious. Like, this area and region is really well known for their wines, and for their truffles, actually.
Like white truffles in particular.
Yep. And so my meal, I had fish with truffles, which, like, that's a combination I've never had or really seen as an option before, and it was delicious. And you had some like olive crusted food, but oh my god, it was to die for.
Yeah, I had a baked olive crusted catch of the day, sea bass. So yeah, it was really, really good, and the wait staff and everybody was really super nice. But yeah, so that was our most recent trip. It was quite a bit of driving. On the way back we hit I always pronounce this wrong. Plitvice or Plitvice Lakes. You've probably seen them on like Instagram and stuff. But it's like a national park, and you can go in there and you can pretty much spend all day if you want and hike around for hours, like up to 8 hours if you really wanted to. I think we hiked around 4 hours.
For our Colorado listeners, it honestly looks like Hanging Lake times like
1,000.
1,000.
Like, there's all these like just gorgeous, just bright blue turquoise lakes that just keep like stacking up on top of each other, kind of like.
So yeah, it's a series of 16 different lakes, and they all just kind of like cascade down like steps to one another, and so there's waterfalls everywhere. I think I read something where there's like over 115 different waterfalls, 16 different lakes. We didn't see all of the lakes. It's just like a little bit too much. Like, I think you would have to walk like 12 and a half miles to see all of the lakes. We walked about 5, but
this is on top of like 6 hours of driving, and we had to get our rental car back by 8 o'clock.
We were pushing it a little.
So we were pushing it. But yeah, so if you guys are ever in Croatia, hit up Plitvice Lakes. We'll link it in the description of the podcast. But yeah, just super, super pretty, and it was really worth it.
Yeah, absolutely stunning.
And then on the way, then we came back to Split on the way. Yeah. Oh, on the way there, we also hit the famous
Cleese Fortress.
Cleese Fortress. You'd probably seen it in Game of Thrones. That was really cool. Yeah, that was worth it for sure. There's a really strategic fortress throughout the years that protected Split and stuff. That was really cool. So yeah, that was definitely worth it.
So that was our most recent like road trip, but we've also done some day trips. These ones were a little bit more like, okay, we'll get up early in the morning and go and be gone all day, and that was just kind of the expectation. So the first day trip that we did was down to this little town called Omiš. It used to be like a pirate hideout.
Yeah.
Which was really cool. We ended up renting a boat.
Yeah.
Which was awesome.
We kind of read about this, but you could there's like this lake, this river that you can take a boat up a ways, like 2 hours, and we heard that you could just pretty much rent a little boat by yourself. So we saw this sign, and we just went up to these people's house, and we just kind of said we want to rent a boat, and he's like, yeah, that'll be $40, and he just like kind of showed me how to drive it, and he put some gasoline in there, some petrol, and we were on our way.
Said, see you in 2 hours.
I didn't have to sign any documents, or I didn't have to give him my social security number or all that good stuff. So
I think that's one of the things that's like is most mind-boggling to me, like coming here, is that like there's just like so little regulation in the way of like, I don't know.
Well, there's more of a trust factor.
There is, that's true.
I feel like it's just like there's less regulations, and they're just like, all right, well, you can rent the boat, just don't crash it, and please return it in 2 hours.
Like, where in the United States would you able to just like be able to do that? Where you could just be like, okay, yeah, here's $40, I'll be back in 2 hours with your boat.
Yeah,
and like, nowhere, no documents, didn't know our name, didn't have our cell phone number, didn't have like any way of
didn't take any. Yeah, I forgot about that. He didn't take any.
Nothing.
He didn't take my name or my my telephone number at all. Yeah, so yeah, it's funny. So that was really fun. We drove up the river for an hour, got lunch, got a beer, and then drove the boat back. It was beautiful. That was our first day trip.
Yeah, we walked around this another fortress, which was pretty cool to go up into, and
yeah, that was really
around
cool.
the old town. But it was just a really picturesque area because it's right where the Cetina River dumps out into the Adriatic Sea. But it's just like very cool to see that area.
Yeah, yeah, that was really fun. And that was Omiš. The next one we went to was the island of Brac. I think it's Brac or Brac, but that's right across from Split. So it's a pretty easy ferry ride. It's like an hour away. So we just decided to hop on the ferry, and when we got there, we just were thinking like, yeah, let's rent a scooter or an ATV or something, and we ended up renting a scooter for $30 for the entire day. And then I think there was the option of insurance, and we just declined it for another like $40. So that's where they kind of get you. Just be careful. But I mean,
and we
I
were
don't know.
like, oh yeah, it's fine. We have it with our credit card. Come to find out that they don't take credit cards.
But yeah, so maybe get insurance if you guys ever rent a scooter. But anyway, so we paid $30 for the whole day, and then we it was so much fun. We just drove around. We went to 3 or 4 different little towns. It was super hot, though. I was a little concerned about that, having, like, helmets on and driving.
It was pretty hot.
It was really hot driving it, like, especially in the middle of the island with, like, no breeze or anything, but it was really cool. We went to
Or
Milna, which was super pretty little port town. And then we drove to the highest point, which was really cool because all the different vegetation and everything changed from like scrub oak to straight up like forest and stuff, which is really pretty. And we overlooked like this really pretty beach and bowl.
Golden Horn Beach.
It's called Golden Horn Beach, and that was really cool. And then we made our way back, and we went to this little town called Splitska, where we met this guy. We were just having a beer, and we met this guy named Paul, and he was just sitting there, and his sailboat was like docked at the port, and he was talking about how he'd sailed across the Atlantic Ocean and all the way into the Mediterranean by himself from California. So
yeah, the American flag caught our attention on the boat a little bit, but I think that's also like one of the other like huge things that I love and obsessed with about travel is just like the people that you meet and encounter. Like we were just sitting at this little tiny bar on the island of Brac having a beer, and come to find out we're sitting next to this guy who has so much life experience. He's been sailing for 40 years. He sailed from went all the way down Carmel, California, went all the way down the Baja Peninsula, through Central America, through the Panama Canal, the Caribbean. He stopped in Florida and then made his way across the Atlantic Ocean. Like took him 3 weeks. It was just really, really astonishing, like to hear these stories, and to like I think that those are things that humanize travel and other cultures as well, which is one of the things that I truly value and love about getting out there and being in new places.
Yeah, it was really cool. It was really fun to talk to him. I mean, he was British, and he lived in California since like the 80s. And it was kind of interesting to talk to him, and like he'd heard about what was going on in the United States and like everything with like the Supreme Court, and we were just kind of like we were kind of like telling him how it was. He asked us how it was, and and everything. We were kind of like bringing him up to date on certain events and news and stuff, which was kind of interesting to me. I mean, he'd been like by himself in a boat for like 6 months, so yeah, it was cool to talk to him.
It's probably a little lonely, looking for some company.
yeah, it was fun. We talked to him for like probably over an hour.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was our trip to Brac, and then we went back and took the ferry back to Split. So yeah, if you're ever in Split, definitely do a day trip to Brac. It's a really, really pretty island.
The ferry tickets were like $10 a person, like round trip, so hardly anything.
Yeah, so the two of us, it was $20, and then the scooter was $30, and then we just like got some like little snacks and stuff for lunch and put them in our backpack, and then I don't even think we got a meal on Brac.
No, we didn't.
Maybe got a beer. Yeah. But
that's our calories.
Yeah. But so anyway, yeah, definitely do Brac and Omiš for your day trips. Another one that we just did was Trogir.
Trogir.
Yeah. It's actually pretty close to Split. it's kind of by the airport, but it's a really cool old medieval town. Or actually, it dates back to like the Greeks, I think.
I think so.
A really cool preserved old town. Yeah, I mean, pretty much all you do there is you walk around and take in all the little side streets and cool alleyways. And we walked up to the bell tower, the church tower, and that was really cool. Did like a panoramic overlook or view.
Yeah, it was really gorgeous. I love that.
Yeah, that was fun. I mean, it was really easy. We took another ferry. You can get there by bus or just take a ferry.
Maybe you can get there by bus.
Yeah.
So funny story. Like when we tried to go on our first day trip, we tried to go to Trogir first. And that really didn't work out. We went to the bus. We were like, okay, we're taking bus number 37. We're going to Trogir. Like it's going to cost 20 kuna a person, blah, 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 whatever. We got this. So we get there, to the bus stop like 10 minutes before the bus is supposed to come. It's supposed to come every like 20 minutes. So we end up standing there for like 45 minutes, and we don't see any buses.
90-degree heat.
Melting. Just like, what the fuck? Is this coming ever?
Yeah.
And so we'd seen 2 buses going for like headed towards Omiš. And so like Garrett and I think we both like independently had this thought of like, well, should we just go there instead?
Yeah, we saw Omiš on the bus, and we were like, oh, we plan on going there. Like, if we see another bus to Omiš, let's just get on. So sure enough, the next bus came, and we just got on, and I think it was like $2 each.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, something crazy for like an hour ride. Yeah, so we ended up going to Omiš that day. So.
Yeah, but so there should be a bus to Trogir, but we did not have any luck finding that. So we found that there's a ferry instead. And I think that you and I both enjoy like being on a boat a little bit more than being in a bus. So
yeah, exactly.
We'll take it.
Well, and that's the nice thing about staying here for 30 days is like, you know, if stuff like that happens, we have the flexibility of just, you know, maybe going on a different day or doing something, you know, like different or whatever. Like things change and stuff comes up. So that is a nice thing about being in one spot for a certain amount of time, which I do like a lot.
Yeah, we don't feel like we're gonna lose
being rushed. Yeah,
you know, lose out on something if things go awry. And so those are the day trips that we've been on so far. I think that we'd also really want to go to Hvar. We are talking about maybe going back to Vis. We want to go to Solta, which is another island. We want to go to Korčula. So we've got quite a few more trips that we want to get under our belt.
Maybe Sarajevo.
Maybe Sarajevo.
Yeah.
Šibenik, we'd also like to go to. So we've got a few more places on our list that we'll have to check out. But we're excited, and like the day trips have been awesome.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I truly think that we've found like struck the perfect balance between like staying in Split and just like relaxing at the beach, and then also like being adventurous and traveling throughout Croatia and finding like new places to go.
Yeah, it's been a great balance. And then I was gonna say one of the actually cool things we did with the cars, we went to after Makarska, and after getting Abby got us stuck in a vineyard, like driving down this steep road. And
I trust Google Maps too much.
God, we were gonna go wine tasting, and Abby got us like going down this road in this vineyard, just destroying
my fatal flaw,
just destroying our rental car, and like all the sensors in the car are beeping at me, and like the rocks are just scraping the bottom of this car. But anyway,
I was trying to be encouraging. It was beautiful.
It was beautiful.
Garrett was pissed.
Anyway, we ended up going to a really cool vineyard by the border of Bosnia, and it was like one of the bigger producers of wine in the region, and it was really, really cool. I mean, you're driving out there, and I turned to Abby. I'm like, where the hell are we going? Like,
He didn't believe me. Again, I was trusting Google Maps, and this time it didn't fail me.
I believed her because we were like driving through vineyards, but there's like all these little tiny, tiny little towns. Like these people just had not probably seen a lot of Americans or tourists, and then sure enough, you just pull up to like this gorgeous vineyard, like right on the border of Croatia and Bosnia, and it was really cool.
And they were well equipped to serve us, and like we picked like the mini tasting, which was like 5 different wines. Okay, but it was not 5 wines. The man just kept bringing wine out. Like, I swear we had, like, 9 different wines.
We had, like,
like
9
oh, my God.
We had, like, 8. I think we had 8 wines plus, like, a welcoming, like, Prosecco. Or not a Prosecco, but like
Prosecco.
a Prosecco. Mm-hmm. So that was really cool, but...
It was a lot.
It was a lot. And it was funny because there was, like, some local guys there from the village, and he just kept pouring...
Topping them up.
Whatever he would pour us, he would just walk over their glasses and top them off.
They got a running tab.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. So that was pretty cool. Having a car is just so flexible. We love to wine taste and stuff like that. So we always try to hit up the local vineyards, and having a car makes it really easy to do that.
I think, yeah, again, it just, like, leads to so much more spontaneity, and, like, you can see the little things on the side of the road, or you can pull over if something, you know, catches your attention. I think that's big for me. So
Yeah.
So for the next question, like, what are some cultural differences that you've noticed, like, things that maybe you like or don't like?
Oh, my God. Okay, so I noticed a few today, because I knew we were going to record this podcast. God, one of the biggest differences is just the supermarkets around here. I mean, they just drive...
Supermarkets is a nice word.
Yeah,
There's nothing super about them.
No, like grocery stores, whatever you want to call these things. I mean, they're just...
Mini market.
They're just so different from what you're used to in the United States. Like, you know, obviously you're used to going to big, like, King Soopers, Safeways, or wherever. Here, they're like little markets, little not even stores. There's one clerk working. There's no room for, like, a line. The line's gonna be, like, in the middle of an aisle, so you can't even go down one aisle. You have to, like, make your way through all these people, and, you know, with COVID, it's not the most comfortable thing. And then over here, nobody's wearing a mask whatsoever. So that's one of the things that just drove me nuts, like the inefficiency of just trying to get in and out of a supermarket when you're not used to that. And we dealt with that in Spain too, but God, that just drove me nuts.
It just feels like way more cramped here, and maybe that's because they have, like, a 200 square foot place that they've got to put all of their groceries into or something. But, like, man, it's tight and it's kind of annoying
you're trying
sometimes.
To, like, pick out food and stuff. And the thing about it, you just can't pick out a bunch of food at one time here. You just gotta, like, get what you want maybe for, like, the next day or two and just get out of there. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
So that's one of the biggest things. Another big thing that really bugs me is, like, and I mentioned this in the last episode, is, like, the lack of social, how'd you put it, awareness, like, social, just, like, social awareness when you're walking, or lines, being in a line, or when you're walking down the street and, like, maybe moving for somebody. Like, people, like, a lot of people over here just aren't aware of, like, what's polite when you're walking down, like, a sidewalk, maybe to get out of the way, or like...
I think too, though, that's, like, a cultural difference in just, like, the things that you value. So, like, in America, like, obviously we value, like, efficiency and like moving quickly and urgency. Like, I feel like there's always a sense of urgency in the United States. Like, with whatever it is that you're doing, like, you always have to be going. Whereas, like, here, I don't necessarily think that's the case.
Yeah.
Which is why you encounter slow walkers who are unaware of the fact that they're taking up the entire
whole
sidewalk.
Well, when I mentioned it last episode, like, I said Americans are really nice. What I meant was, like, I think we're just used to being very socially polite, like holding doors for one another, like getting out of each other's way on the sidewalk, letting somebody go first in front of you, stuff like, you know, whatever. Like, here it's just pretty much you fend for yourself, and you just gotta walk. You just gotta weave in and out of people, and so that takes a little bit of getting used to.
For sure. I think that, like, for me too is, like, it's kind of connected. It's like the timeliness. Like, I don't know. I mean, we stood at the bus stop for 45 minutes, and neither, like, we should have seen at least 2 buses go by for the place where we were going, and neither came. And, like, just, like, little communication. And I guess that happens in the US, but, like, it was just different. Another thing, like, I went to the gym one time, and I went at, like, so the gym opens at 10, And I got there at like 11:30, and it was just closed. And there were like 4 other people waiting outside, and I was like, what? And luckily they like told me, they were like, oh yeah, it's not open yet. And I was like, okay, well, like, do you know when it's gonna open? And they're like, we're not really sure. Like, normally it opens at 10. I'm like, okay, well, it's like almost noon. What's going on here?
Croatia time, man.
Yeah, and I mean, they just waited, and I waited another like 25 minutes, and finally, like, the guy who owns the gym came and just like opened it up. But I don't know, like, they're
just really chill people, honestly.
Yeah.
Which is totally fine if you're used to that, but I think, for a lot of people and a lot of Americans, we're more used to like a more structured schedule, efficient schedule and stuff. So yeah, that's takes a little bit getting used to. But
yeah, I also think it like brings some value though too, and can teach you like patience and
for sure.
like understanding, or just like to slow down, and that things don't always have to be so fast and urgent, and you don't have to move so quickly always.
Yeah. Also, another thing that has been driving me nuts a little bit is like just the lack of space. Going from like our big, I wouldn't say big house, but going to our decent house in the United States, and then coming to this apartment, is we got to trying to get used to the lack of space again.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the lack of like appliances, and having to boil my water to clean my dishes and utensils and stuff. So that's been a little hard to get used to. But it's only for a month, so it's totally worth it.
It's absolutely doable, for sure.
So that's a good question for sure.
Next question. What's like the cost of living?
It's definitely a lot less in the United States, for sure. Like, for example, we went to the beach and we picked up 4 beers beforehand, and 4 big beers, like half pints, and it was like
half liters,
sorry, and it was like $4, like $5. So and a lot of dinners are very affordable, like probably a lot cheaper than most dinners in the United States.
I would say that most of our dinners have been around like $40 total. Like, and I think that most of the time we have like a drink or two, and then an entree, and sometimes even like water and bread, and maybe a starter. Yeah. And it's been about $40. Like, that's reasonable. There's no way you could do that like anywhere in the US unless you were eating like solely fast food. But we certainly aren't eating fast food. It's like we've had some really good food.
Well, and plus, like, we're in like a pretty touristy part of Croatia too. So like, we've noticed, even getting off the beaten path a little bit, like the prices of food go down tremendously.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, Split is a very affordable place. If you guys ever travel here, I wouldn't worry about too much about price at all. Like,
no, I mean, like we said, like we took a day trip to Brac, and the ferry cost $10 a person. Like, that's reasonable.
Yeah.
So, what is the food like?
I love the food. I mean, I wouldn't say it's my favorite food, like, out of all the places I've been. I probably would say, like, I probably like Italian food a little more, and Thai food.
Mexican food.
Mexican food a little more. But if you love fresh seafood with a little bit of an Italian influence, I mean, it's really good food for the price too. I mean, you got fresh catch of the day, and I got fried prawns, and they were like, what, $11 each plate? Yeah. Like $10 each plate.
Like, I don't know where in the United States you can eat fresh seafood like that for the price that we are experiencing now. Like, oh my God. And the food is just also, the fish we've had has been so fresh. Yeah. And coming from a landlocked state of Colorado, like, it's a nice treat for us, I would say.
Yeah, it's very good. And like, we try to get a lot of fried calamari, fried prawns. They have a lot of mussels here. They do have a lot of Italian influence. So last night I had this really good like Croatian twist. Gnocchi. Yeah, Croatian twist on gnocchi, which was so good. So I would definitely say the food is very good here. I mean, I wouldn't say like my top 3. No, probably not my top 3 favorite places, culinary wise, but they definitely, I mean, especially the region of Istria where we just were. I mean, they definitely can hold their own.
Yeah, and, like
So,
the truffle seafood that I had up there, and like
the
we bought some
wine.
other truffle stuff. They have good olive oil, like lots of good things. I would say.
I would say that their wine game is pretty underrated.
Oh,
Like Croatian
absolutely.
wine is pretty damn good. So yeah, I just don't think you ever see it like in a lot of stores or anything in the United States. But it's a really really good wine. Abby gets white wine every night with
Goes perfectly with my seafood.
yeah. So their wine game is on point. We've found out some local craft beers that we like. Oh, we have a beer shop like right at the bottom of our like literally right at the bottom of our apartment. So that's super nice. We like go grab like some nice craft Croatian beer and take it to like a park and stuff.
Yeah,
So
I would say yeah, the food scene's pretty good.
it is good. It's very good. Yeah, I definitely like Croatian food for sure.
I have been craving a few different things. Not necessarily craving yet, but like I don't know, I was scrolling on Instagram and saw like Half Baked Harvest, like a couple recipes, and I was like, oh, that looks really good. Like
Yeah.
so, like I think I would get sick of this food like if it was the only thing I had, but for now and for a month, it's great. It serves a purpose and
For
it's
sure.
delicious and
Yeah, I mean, if you like spicy food, you definitely, I mean, you got to get used to that. Like, I love spicy food, and there's not a lot of spice to their food here, but they do have amazing fresh seafood, so can't complain about that.
yeah, no, it's great.
And then, so our last question. Sorry, we're running out of time here. So what is the best thing about living here? Why don't you go first?
I think the best thing about living here for me is just like taking the time to slow down
Yeah,
and enjoy the little things. Like, I don't know, my mom asked on the phone the other day, she was like, have you guys gotten bored at all? And then I was like, no, like honestly, and she's like, well, yeah, I guess the more that you think about it, like, what would you be doing at home? Like, just trying to make do with like, or, find something to keep yourself entertained. You can do that just as well in Split as you can at home for the summer. And I said, yeah, absolutely. And I think that, like, just honestly, like, not necessarily having a set plan and having to go and get things done. And, like, I don't know. I truly just try to use my summers as a teacher to, like, refresh and, like, rejuvenate and get, like, totally ready for the next year. But, like, without thinking about it, just more of, like, this is me time. And I think that Split, like, and just, like, the European lifestyle provides
yeah.
that opportunity to just like be relaxed.
For sure. I mean, that's definitely my number one thing about living here is just the culture and the lifestyle. Like, I love it. I love just like the slower pace of, and I know we kind of like
We said that frustrates us
frustrates
sometimes.
us a little bit, but like when you do take a step back and like you just soak it in, it's like, it's so nice.
It's really
I
refreshing.
mean, I love like coming home and like not having to rush out and go to dinner at 6-7 o'clock, or like, like dinner here is at 9:30, 10 every night, and just kind of taking your time throughout the day, and just kind of like, I don't know, just like literally going just a little bit slower. It's nice.
Mm-hmm.
It's super nice. I like it.
I agree.
But yeah, it's been super fun. Our podcast is about to kick us off. So
Now might be a good time to sign off.
No, but yeah, so I definitely Split's an amazing place. We can't wait to tell you guys more. We have 2 more weeks here, so we're super pumped. But so far it's been great and we love it.
Yep. So I think that's all we have for you today.
Thanks for your questions, guys. We really appreciate it, and we will catch up with you guys soon.
Until then, it's time to travel.
All right, bye guys.